Welcome back to the Childhood Cancer Perspective. Thank you so much for sticking with me through all these episodes. This week, I want to talk about something that is very close to me personally, based on something that I have been doing as a mentor for the past couple of months with the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. Now, going through this journey or this shit show, obviously, as we've called it in episodes in the past, you often find yourself searching for something to do that's very meaningful, something that you can do that is really going to be fulfilling for you as a person, as an advocate, as a parent. And sometimes that is very, very hard to do because you're never quite sure if you're actually making a difference or making an impact. Now, something that I was able to do in the past couple of months is become a mentor for the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. And what that does is that allows somebody to take their grief, take their experiences, take their journey, and allow them to provide guidance or just companionship in the sense of understanding what's going on. To another family that is newly diagnosed and really kind of lost and deer in the headlights, which is exactly what we were. And I don't feel like we had those types of resources when JC was first diagnosed. And this is something that allows me to really give back in a very, very personal way to the pediatric cancer community. Now, I spent the last 3 months communicating with a family that was newly diagnosed, and I got to know them very well. Communication in the last part of our matching, which is about 3 months per family, doesn't mean you have to stop talking to them, but the matching is about 3 months. And the communication kind of slowed because I believe their daughter was actually doing really well and they were spending time with her, which is exactly what they should have been doing. In the very beginning, when we spoke, it allowed me to kind of dig deep into maybe even memories or maybe even understanding or knowledge that I had repressed because of, trying to get past everything we had been through and be able to pass that information along and then and hopefully comfort them in a way that knew that they were doing the right thing. They were doing the best thing for their daughter. They were doing the best thing as parents and as a family. And it was definitely something that was extremely fulfilling to me. And I'm hoping that I can continue to do that and provide guidance and provide just an ear to listen to, if that's what it takes, to as many families as possible, because I know that there are a lot out there that just don't have the resources, whether it's geographical or whether it's financial or whatever the reason is. You just don't have the resources to have somebody there that understands and truly understands what you're going through. Speaking to a social worker or a psychologist, psychiatrist, or your community, your school, your church, that's all great, and they give you great comfort and they give you great understanding of what's going on by way of just your family's stricken with a disease or was stricken with horrible bad news. We can be there for you, but to have somebody there that can truly understand and empathize what you're going through, I think is a key missing piece of a puzzle that is just now really starting to be something that's prominent in the pediatric brain tumor community especially. So this was something that was definitely fulfilling for me, and definitely I hope it was fulfilling for them, and I do wish them well, and I wish their daughter well, and I hope that they understand that they could always reach out at any point in time, that we've established that connection. Now, this is part of my push to really get families that are going through this, whether it be a diagnosis, whether it's the unfortunate passing of your child, whether it is different treatment options or therapies that you have come across, community ideas or fundraisers, whatever the case may be, that you as parents make yourself available to the community. You make yourself available to others to really lend that hand and lend that ear to people that are going through the worst time of their life and the scariest time of their life, and are looking for somebody that truly understands it and can listen to them. We have some very close friends of ours that unfortunately their daughter passed away in August, and they have been with us by our side since the day we met them. And we actually met them when our daughter JC was in the hospital. It was around Christmas time, and I remember getting a message. I remember getting an email from our social worker saying that we would probably be a perfect match. It would be an absolute, our families would line up, and we thought we would really kind of bounce well off each other. It started off because obviously at that time we had our organization, Battlecorn, and we were going to, we could send them a package, which I actually dropped off personally to their house. But what it did was it allowed our families to kind of come together and become one, because we understood the cancer fight. Our daughters had the same exact birthday, except 1 year apart. They were both into the same things. So we were able to understand and really be there for each other in such a close and intimate way, because it didn't, every single time we got together, our conversations didn't have to rely or go around cancer. They just didn't. A lot of times we got together, sat at the kitchen table and just laughed and had a good time, or joked and about, whatever, and we're able to kind of take our minds away from the horrible situations that were going on and just be people, but at the same time have that support system that understood what we're going through and knew that if we needed them or if they needed us, that we would be there in a heartbeat. And that still is true to this day. Obviously we are in, a couple of years in, since JC passed. We're in the third year, actually, that since she passed, and they're in, the first year. They just celebrated the first birthday without their daughter, their daughter would have been 12, JC would have been 11, and they're still navigating, how to kind of move forward with life and move forward in this different understanding of life, and without her there, and we're still, we're pushing through, trying to figure things out still to this day, how we're going to continue to move forward with, with our daughter going off to college, and, with our other daughter getting, her driver's license and becoming the only sister in the house now. There's a lot of different things that are changing. But what we want to do is we want to continue to make ourselves available to the rest of the community and the rest of our friends and family. So, and especially the people that are going through this right now, we want people to understand that this is not a community that just breaks apart whenever something happens. This is a community that when it gets tough, we actually get closer together. And that's because so many people are willing to give back after tragedy strikes. So many people are willing to get back in and turn their tragedy into something positive. And that's what we're hoping to do with not only with Battlecorn, but with our advocacy, with our legislation, with this podcast, with all of our social media. Our whole purpose is to give back to the community, give back to the world, in a way that our daughter would be proud of us, and to make sure that we keep JC's legacy alive. That's the whole purpose of everything we do. One aspect of that making yourself available is really making sure at the same time that you're okay, making sure that you're okay being available, that you're okay being essentially a public figure, essentially being out there, having your name out there, your contact information, and people reaching out to you, making sure that you're okay to be out there for people to reach out to. That means that you have to be okay yourself asking for help. Now, I know I've talked about this in the past, but our family is still to this day learning how to ask for help. We're still learning how to be okay with not having the answer to everything, be okay with not being available in the sense that if anybody needs help, we're right there. Sometimes we need to take a break. Sometimes we need to put that wall up. Sometimes we need to shut the phone off. And that's okay. But making sure you're okay asking for help. Listen, asking for help is not something that is easy to do. Asking for help is something that actually really is a difficult thing to do, and not anywhere near a sign of weakness, but it's really a show of strength, because that way you're understanding and you are realizing that you can't do it alone, that you can't do it by yourself. Ask for help. Now, when you ask for help and you get the help, then and only then can you make yourself available, and you can be part of this community by giving back that same type of help, that same type of comfort, that same type of understanding that really allows you to make these people that are going through the worst time of their life, these parents, these families, these siblings, make them understand that they're not alone, that they're right here in the biggest and most incredible community that nobody wants to be a part of. But we're here, and we're big, and we're loud, and we're ready. We're ready to talk about it. We're ready to be there for you. We're ready to open or bring you in with open arms and allow you to just unload if you have to, allow you to just vent, yell, scream, ask questions, whatever you need to do. We're right here. All you've got to do is ask. That means, again, being okay asking for help to make sure you're ready to be put out there. And then it also means being okay to ask for help so that you can get that guidance and you can get that companionship and you can get that friendship and that ear to listen, the shoulder to cry on, no matter what. There is always something there. I have always made it perfectly clear that my phone is on 100% of the time. My phone is always with me. I'm always available. And if I miss a call, I'll call you right back. If you need to talk, if you need to be listened to, I'm right there. I'm available. And I put myself out there because I think that it's important that, because so much of this community I feel like is left behind when it comes to the legislative side, when it comes to the lawmakers, and when it comes to your capitals and your politicians, and when it comes to election time. I feel like so much of this community is left behind, and it is so incredibly frustrating that I want to make sure that you understand that we are the ones that are truly important. And although we have to carry the load to make a change, we're not ever carrying so much stuff that we can't be there for you as well. I never want anybody to feel alone. I never want anybody to feel the way that we did during that first hospital visit. Now, listen, we had a lot of friends, a lot of family that reached out to us. I had, Facebook Messenger and text messages that went on for days when we first were admitted, and we did our best to update people and to keep them in the loop of what was going on based on what we knew and based on what we felt people needed to know. And so I don't take anything away from those people and those friends and those family. We love all of them. Now, some of them aren't still in our circle because, like I've said in the past as well, unfortunately, when the child passes away, or if you win your battle and there's no more pomp and circumstance out there, there's no more news media coverage that you can get into, a lot of people, unfortunately, will just disappear. But the real ones stay behind. But in general, nobody that was reaching out to us, nobody that was there when we were first admitted, when JC was going through her stem cells, when she was going through chemo changes based on protocol changes because of issues she was having with several of the drugs, when we were going through shunt revisions, all of this stuff. Nobody truly understood how we felt. Nobody truly understood how we were feeling at that moment. Nobody truly understood personally what we were going through. They were understanding we were going through something terrible, so they were there for us as friends, as family, as good people. But there was no understanding truly about what we were going through because they weren't going through it, or they haven't gone through it. We had one friend when we first were admitted, one friend that I went to high school with that understood it by way of brain tumor, understood that and was there for me and reached out, was one of the first people to reach out. Was also someone that I spoke to on the phone, I think, for about an hour before JC started her first chemo to kind of give me a heads up of how things were going to go. And, they were there, and they were really the only ones in our circle of people that understood at least a little bit about what we were going through. It wasn't until afterward that, we started to meet the community. We started to meet people in the brain tumor community, in the pediatric cancer community before we started, that we really had people that understood truly what we were going through. And I think it's important that we make these communities available to people, make ourselves available, make your organizations available, lend yourself to these people, because being alone in this fight and truly feeling alone in such a dark place, I think is so much scarier, and it's so much worse because you've got nobody to lean on. You have nobody to ask questions to. You have nobody to really have be there for you, and it's scary. Having these resources available to the hospitals, having them available to the social workers, if you're able to do that, reaching out to community organizations like the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation that have these mentor opportunities, and being there for people, I think is key. It is absolutely crucial, and I hope that these programs continue to really expand and really to reach a greater audience, because I think it is so important that we have communities and we have people that are so willing to be there, because without it, you are truly alone in such a scary place. Now, social media is something that has been another key piece of our advocacy and key piece of our ability to really be there for people and really be available for people to reach out, or available for people to ask questions, available for people to learn more about what we're doing as an organization, as a family, what we're doing for the community. Obviously, if anybody knows who I am outside of this podcast, you know that we have a pretty decent following on TikTok, and that's a lot of where we meet. We've met a lot of families through TikTok, a lot of families, some that are still fighting, some that have lost their children. And we've met people both ways. And then we've also been able to, not necessarily interview, but have people brought on the podcast or our TikTok lives. Hopefully one day I'll be able to bring some guests on the podcast as soon as I can get the logistics figured out. But doing that on social media has allowed us to see how big this community truly is, but also allows us to meet so many more and continue to grow the size of this support network that we have. And it is incredibly important for us to be able to do that more and more and more. Now we are on, Battlecorn and, just myself in general are on every single platform that you could think of, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, X, whatever, we're on it. And so I try to make myself and our organization as absolutely available as possible, because I think it is so important that we bring these families together, not only for the opportunity for us to send care packages to your children, but also for us to be able to have more and more families in the fight to make a complete change the way pediatric cancer is seen in this country. Right now, it is horribly and disgustingly underfunded, and it is horribly and disgustingly talked about as if it is a rare disease, and it is absolutely doesn't affect enough children to really warrant the bigger funding and bigger opportunities for things to change. Now, we had an opportunity to do some things the last couple of years with legislation, but we'll talk about that in its own episode. We have another opportunity to change the way things are done here in Wisconsin, and when I get more information on that, I will absolutely be talking about that here as well, because I think it is a very, very important step that I've just started the wheels turning on it, and I think it's going to be an incredible option, and I hope that we can make something work. But I don't want to get off track when it comes to what the episode was centered around today. I will definitely bring that up in another episode. But really what I was thinking about today when I started was that I had received an email from the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation just letting me know, because they would check in from time to time, letting me know that the connection, the match with myself and this family was coming to an end. But it obviously did not mean that we had to stop communications, that we could communicate as much as we wanted to. We could be there as much as necessary, and whatever it came out of it, there you go. So I essentially reached out. I messaged his family. I said, hey, the match is coming to an end, but that doesn't mean that our communications have to come to an end. That doesn't mean that our relationship has to come to an end. If you need something, if it's just a rant, if it's ask a question, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would be glad to talk to you at any point in the time, any day. Now, when I first met this family, and this was something that was kind of passed along, but when I first met this family, they were extremely scared. And I actually spoke to them the first time they were in the hospital, the mother and the father. They were in the hospital with their daughter at that moment. And they asked a lot of questions. And to be honest with you, they were very hard-hitting questions. And, I won't discuss details, but it was discussions and questions that really brought me back to a time when JC was going through all these treatments. And it was very hard to answer some of them without breaking down. But the last thing that I really wanted to do in that position is break down and scare them, maybe even more than they already were. So I refrained from that and broke down afterwards. But I felt a real sense of relief, maybe. I felt a real sense of accomplishment to be able to go back into what I had most likely repressed, like I mentioned before, into those memories or the understandings of JC going through these treatments, and being able to go back and say, answer the questions the best I could based on ours, but being very careful about how things are worded, and being very careful about how things are said, because listen, there's no guarantee when it comes to cancer in general, when it comes to a serious illness like that, and when it comes to pediatric cancer, there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee that there's going to be a positive outcome. There's no guarantee there's going to be a negative outcome. And I always, no matter what, when we go through this, I always want to give you hope that things are going to go well. And listen, I think that advances are being made. I think changes are being made in the positive, and I think we absolutely are, hopefully, in a position in the very near future. I hope that changes become a positive thing in the pediatric cancer community, and that we see longer lifespans, and we see longer lifespans without the negative side effects that come from surviving. But it was very hard to go through and answer questions at some point about, how they, your daughter's going through this, and our daughter was going through the same type of thing. And unfortunately, our daughter passed away. So, how do you really provide positivity in a situation where it really could end up the same? And the reality of the situation is that none of these two cases are exactly the same. None of these cases are anywhere near the same. And what your child is going through, even if it was the exact same type of cancer, same type of treatment, same age, everything, it's not the same. It's really not. And so you can't look at it. You can't look at it through your daughter's case or your child's case when you're providing this guidance or this assistance, this help to other people. You can't look at it through your child's case in that way. You can look at it through the lens of pediatric cancer, the lens of the treatments that you went through, the lens of the options you were given, but not directly through the lens of your child's treatment or outcome, because it's not an apples to apples comparison. It just isn't. And that's something that we've learned along the way with meeting other families and other children that have gone through pediatric cancer, gone through the same type of cancer as JC, gone through different treatments, but some of them have succeeded and are doing really well. Some of them have been stable for years, but there's always the unfortunate chance that the tumors become active again. There are those that have passed away through whether it be a longer or shorter fight than what JC had. And, every single one of them was on a different type of treatment, a different type of protocol, a different area of the country. And so you can't look at it through the lens of what your child exactly went through. You kind of have to broaden it a little bit and look through it through the lens of just a parent with a child going through pediatric cancer, going through the radiation, the chemo, going through stem cell transplants, going through all the endless testing and MRIs and CTs, and you have to look at it through that lens. And so that's the way that I approach it. And that's the way I approach it for everything, is that you have to look at it through the lens. Now, yes, it is very easy. And when I speak to either this family or I speak to other families through social media, it is very easy for me to compare side by side. It's very easy for me to compare side by side when it comes to the same type of drugs that JC was on, or pain medication, or same type of side effects that we see. Yes, I definitely compare it, and I can say, okay, I understand what you're going through 100% because our daughter went through this, absolutely. However, being there for someone doesn't mean saying, hey, my child did this, so your child's going to do that. It is, hey, your child's going through this. Listen, my child went through it as well. But all outcomes aren't the same. You just have to, and you also can give yourself the opportunity, and sometimes it can feel negative and sometimes it can feel positive, to say, this is what they went through, but this is what we did in order to counteract it, or this is what we did to react to it. Maybe you should try this, or maybe this doesn't work for you, or maybe you've already tried that, maybe try this. You have to be able to just kind of open yourself up to understanding that every single case is not the same, but you want to be there as a whole. Be there as a whole person, a whole organization, a whole advocate, as a family, to make sure that the people that are going through this, the newly diagnosed parents that are going to be looking for that guidance and clarity, that you're there for them with a clear mind. You're there for them with an open mind, and understanding that it's not an apples to apples type of comparison. And you have to realize that to be able to be fully available. And I think that's an incredible opportunity if there are other people out there that are listening. Listen, you doing a podcast for me was something that I was truly interested in for a long time. And, maybe this podcast never becomes a number one on the Apple scale or number one on Spotify. But to me, that's not important. To me, even if I only have 5 listeners, it's those 5 listeners that stick with me, and you're able to either learn something, or you're able to take from what I'm saying and create something new, or create something for somebody else, or learn about how you can better be there for somebody else. It gives you an opportunity. We've always said through our entire organization that if we change even one mind, if we educate one person, if we get one person to change the way they look at things, or create an opportunity for something like that, if you get one person's mind changed, then that is a positive. That is an absolute positive in our opinion. So from that, I say, if you take anything from this, understand that you can do exactly what you put yourself out there to do if you truly are available from both your mind and your body and your soul and your heart. You're available. People will be there asking for that guidance and that help, and because they want to feel like they're not left outside in the dark. And like I said, this family or this community, unfortunately, feels way too often like we're left outside, like we're completely left behind. And the only thing you can do is be there. So as we move through this, and I know that I want to get some guests on this podcast at some point, and it's not an easy situation. There's a lot of logistics for me to be able to do it, but I'm hoping that I can do it at some point. I'm hoping that I can bring somebody in and I'm able to do it at some point. So if you guys have any ideas about the types of guests that you'd want to hear from, I welcome that. I welcome that opportunity to be able to do that. I welcome that opportunity to be able to capture those voices and capture those thoughts and ideas and capture those minds that are on the same path as what I'm trying to do, but also have different ideas that I may not have expressed yet. So that's the hope here coming up soon. I also would like to have, at some point, we're going to get Tim on this podcast. He's my partner in crime when it comes to TikTok, my partner in crime when it comes to social media, and we're doing some incredible things. Just as a general update, we are now 93 days into our fundraising for our August 17th gala, and we are just over $13,000 that we have raised so far. So if anybody out there, if you're listening and you would like to become a partner and a sponsor of our gala, or you would like to donate or get involved, please do reach out to me through this podcast. You can reach out through our website, battlecorncarepackages.com, or you can also find us on Facebook. The Childhood Cancer Perspective does now also have a Facebook page, so you can reach out to us there. If you have any questions or concerns, I would love to hear from you. So I appreciate you all once again for sticking with me through these episodes. Check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Snapchat, on X, on Threads, on everything you can think of. We are available. All you've either got to do is search for Battlecorn Care Packages or search for the Childhood Cancer Perspective, and you will be able to find a way to get in touch with us. Thank you all once again so much, and I will see you all next week.